With the NBA season resuming and players preparing for their trip to Orlando in late July, there are teams like the Lakers, Jazz, and the Nets who, from a clear view, are prone to see the hiatus have negative impacts on their teams when the NBA resumes, as the Lakers were succeeding and in their groove with a veteran-heavy roster, the Jazz being the focal point of the NBA hiatus beginning, and the Nets stars Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant not available to play in Orlando. On the contrary, the Clippers, the Rockets, and the Pacers are just few of the other teams that will likely benefit from the NBA's stoppage. The Clippers because of the injuries that were able to heal during this time, putting them into a stronger position for the playoffs. The Rockets players are able to have a break and come back stronger, especially Harden, who's prone to become tired come playoff time, and the Pacers having time for Oladipo to improve during this time. NBA teams undoubtedly will be affected in some way with the season returning after 100-plus days of no NBA basketball. However, there are two teams that I think can come out of this hiatus and show the NBA up with the return of basketball. Hey everyone, DC NBA Junkie here, and today I'll be discussing two dark horse teams that have a chance to surprise many NBA teams in the NBA playoffs and potentially prove themselves to be title contenders: the Boston Celtics and the Portland Trail Blazers. I'll begin discussing the Boston Celtics with Jason Tatum and their determination factor, and the Portland Trail Blazers with injury recoveries and Damian Lillard's firepower. But before I begin, make sure to leave a like on the video and drop down in the comments section any suggestions for future video ideas or even ideas for future series, because any suggestions from you guys are highly advised and recommended. And lastly, make sure to subscribe. We're all here for some fresh and nice NBA content. Let's get to it. Alright, while I came to terms in thinking in the Eastern Conference why the Boston Celtics to me were the clear-cut one of the more interesting dark horse teams to go far in the NBA playoffs and potentially become a title contender, is because they weren't seen by the general public as just the team that was one of the more favored teams in the league, especially since there were players, there's the Bucks and the Lakers and the Clippers. There's just other teams that were more fan favorites and more seen and viewed by the media as the clear-cut favorites, and I feel like the Boston Celtics were clearly overlooked in my opinion. And kind of going into that, I want to start talking about Jason Tatum. It's an understatement to say that this guy's just a talented athlete. He's obviously had a really astounding rising to his game prior to the NBA hiatus, and I think he can become a really big X factor into the Boston Celtics journey throughout the playoffs, as it's most likely, it's easy, clear cut that they're going to be in the playoffs. And I'm gonna just say some few statistics to kind of explain Jason Tatum's rise, because I feel like it's really important to talk about. He throughout his first 3 years in the NBA, he's improved from 14 points a game to 15 points per game to 23 points per game. He ranks top 20 in the league in offensive rating with a 118 rating, which is really impressive, especially for him. It's only his third year in the NBA, and it might be, might be more than just top 20, but as far as I know, it's around that range. He has a 20.3 PER, which is league average is about 15, so that is really impressive for him, especially just in 3 years in the NBA. And I feel like a lot of his improvement clearly has come from him being more involved in their offense, getting more touches, being one of the more focal points of their offense, especially since his first couple years, rookie season, he was a rookie. He was kind of taking the back seat. There were other players who were getting more touches: Jaylen Brown, not Gordon Hayward, but more like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, those kind of athletes. So they were getting clearly more touches on the team. But his usage rate has gone up to a 28.6%. So it's clear that Tatum's usage rate has gone up with this team, and I think what makes them one of the more dark horse teams is because of Jason Tatum's rise, and that's one of the reasons I think that they have a legitimate shot in the NBA playoffs. All right, next I'm going to go into the determination for this team. It might seem like a more questioning topic, but I feel like for this team, the core of this team's frustration in the past couple of seasons, has mainly been through the Kyrie Irving's dilemma and him being on this team. They all thought it was going to be a good trade on paper, but just the morals didn't work out. His leadership wasn't there. He's an offensive player who wanted the ball a lot, and it was really frustrating when he didn't get the ball at the end of the game, or he wasn't, I guess, seen by Brad Stevens or Danny Ainge, the GM, as their main guy at some points, and that kind of made him question the team for sure. But I think now what's made this team definitely improve off of that time is bringing in Kemba Walker, but Kemba Walker has kind of brought in some more leadership qualities than what Kyrie Irving had. I'm not trying to knock down Kyrie Irving's game at all, great offensive player, but Kemba Walker was just more, his personality kind of fits this team. The team has kind of come together to become more unselfish. There's not one leader. I think there's many leaders, even down to Marcus Smart for sure, as a great leader for this team defensively, and just kind of one of the more veteran assets on this team. And they like I said, they have several leaders, but this team's ability to stay healthy as well during the duration of the season is definitely going to allow them to translate to winning. And that's why I feel like they have a legitimate chance to win this, to go far in the NBA playoffs, especially since they're overlooked as one of the teams that doesn't really seem like the clear cut because they don't have the superstar yet. But honestly, I think Jason Tatum, like I've said before, may become that in the future. Okay, now for the Portland Trailblazers side, I want to go first into the injury recoveries. What makes this team a little interesting, they're not exactly in the playoffs yet, and I'll get to that, but notably, Zach Collins and Jusuf Nurkic have just are reported that they are healthy and are ready to play for this return to the NBA, which has made this team, their spirits go up higher than ever, and their confidence has been boosted, more than ever. There is the controversy through the NBPA about players returning, and I think that could affect more like Carmelo Anthony in terms of players who are trying to stick for their rights and don't want to play because of their stance of the social climate right now. But however, they may be the best team they could be one of the best teams. This group they're bringing out, maybe one of the best teams they bring out all year. So that's really special, especially since they've already put this whole season and saying that their best team will be the team that they bring in, resuming the NBA hiatus. It sounds really unique, but it's really interesting because they already have. The only concern I have though is kind of how they're going to fit these two big men into their rotation. They already have a solid roster, but obviously I don't think they have enough. They have, the biggest idea I'm thinking of is like Hassan Whiteside, how they're going to fit that in there with Jusuf Nurkic if Nurkic comes off the bench and maybe Zach Collins is running to the four because he's a stretch big. So maybe running Zach Collins at the four and getting some usage out of them there and having him play as a stretch big can certainly make them one of the more interesting teams down in this resumption to the NBA season. And then additionally, I want to go into Damian Lillard's firepower. And I don't think he doesn't need any no stats are needed to explain Damian Lillard's amazing basketball talents, but I'll go into a couple of them. He's top 5 offensive rating in the league with a 125, which is outstanding. A great offensive score, which is self-explanatory. He has 61% true shooting percentage, which is his career high in true shooting percentage. That's just a combination of all of the different scoring, the two-point percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw. So easily having one of the best seasons of his career, percentage-wise and efficiency-wise. Career highs in points per game, 29 points per game, and field goal percentage about a 45%, which is good for him because he has to take a lot of shots on this team. His usage rate is significantly high, and because of that, he has to take a lot of shots. He's the focal point of the offense. It's just how it works. He's had 9 offensive win shares, which for him on the average, he only played 58 games and he was on pace to break that. So that's really just super impressive. And like I said before, just the 58 games, he missed some time from that groin injury he had back in February and, had to miss the All-Star game. But this has allowed him to improve and heal off that injury even more so now. And it's just, this is all coming together to resemble him just, getting closer and hitting his prime. And his motives are clearly set because he said that he wasn't going to play unless they had something to play for, and now they do. So I'm really excited to see what Portland does in this when the resumption of the NBA season, because I really think they are one of those teams that need to be considered. Like I said before, they are not in the playoffs right now. They're 3.5 games out behind the Grizzlies in the 9th spot, so they're right there. I really think they're the team that has the best chance to come back. But I'm not just saying make the playoffs, but I think they have a chance to go somewhere because they have their players coming back. And I'm saying I understand that they would play the Lakers the first round, and that's a big task to take on. But I think that they can at least have a legitimate shot now because they have one of the best teams they'll have all year. They got the remarkable signing in Carmelo Anthony with a cheap contract, and you've seen what he's done all season. He's been a really remarkable player, and I just think that's what makes them a more interesting dark horse team. Not a team that you would expect to go far, but they could potentially surprise a couple of people out there, a good amount of people out there. And with that being said, that will be the end of today's video where I discussed 2 dark horse teams in my opinion who could go genuinely far in the playoffs. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section how you felt, and just feedback to me is always great. And feel free to subscribe if you'd like. I'm not gonna, it's your choice. And yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video, and have a great day.